Excellent. So welcome once again. If you just joined us, we're in our distance learning COP, the first one of the year, and we're trying to keep students at the center. And so you talked about that, and I want to show you a little video that helps us go even further. Some of you may recognize these people. Can you hear okay?
My name is Laila.
My name is Rocio Linares.
My name is Emmanuel de la Paz.
My name is Margarita Arutunian.
Hi, my name is Bessie.
Hey everybody, my name is Guadalupe Solis. I like the distance learning program because I scan a QR code and watch a lesson in YouTube,
Which includes complex writing exercises, videos, and tests.
In my house, I don't know, it's very fun watch the videos.
Distance learning is cool because you read, you listen, and you watch or what is talking about that situation.
It allowed me to improve my English skills, not only from school, but also at home.
The video helped me with my homework. I study for 3 hours and 3 hours at home.
I can also watch the YouTube video when I am at the laundromat.
Now I feel more comfortable with English speaking people at a bank, store, or a school.
It helps me a lot because in my job, because I can talk to people and the people understand me and I can help them.
I learned how to speak and be more comfortable when I try to get a job or fill an application.
The DL program has also been a great help to me because my dream is to obtain my nurse's certificate.
I like distance learning because it improved my everything in my life.
This program is helping me to be more confident at work. Now I am able to talk directly with clients who speak English.
Our work is guided by our teacher, Miss Rita Mardishan. She checks our work, answers our questions, and gives recommendation for us to improve and make progress.
Then I meet with Miss Stone at school to make sure I understand them.
I take the bus to pick my homework. My teacher, Ms. Sedora, helped me a lot.
And personally, our teacher, Miss Rita Mardishan, because she is responsible in helping us and gives attention to each student personally.
With distance learning, I can stay with my 5 years old daughter. And distance learning helps me start a new life. Thank you.
So you might have recognized a few of those students, and I want to thank you for your amazing work in helping those students create those videos. It really never ceases to amaze me, the speaking ability that you help engender in students who may or may not have other ESL classes that they go to. I will ask you later just how many of those students you have in DL are in another class, if you're aware of that, or if they're just in your class. But again, the focus is on our students. And so the videos you saw, or parts of them, could represent the type of videos that our students could do at the end of level 6 to show their speaking ability. But we'll talk about that later. What I want to do is just stay on this idea, if I can share my screen again, about students or learners at the center. And for us, when we're in training together, it's really about, oh, first of all, let me say thank you to Bob Proctor, who took all those videos that you created and spliced and diced and did some beautiful things. So much love to Bob for that. And maybe we'll be able to shorten and even maybe use that on websites and such. All right, so let us think about this training. If I see if I can get this out of the way. And the idea that you guys are at the center of a training when it comes to your own learning. And so I wanted to let you know that, whoops, I lost a slide there. So I wanted to thank you for any of you who did go to the registration link and the Google form and shared your thoughts, because they really are helping to drive what we're doing today. And so some of the stuff I wanted to share that you said that I thought was really interesting and that we're building off of is the following. So you said, how to use data to see our strengths and areas of growth, identify what program data and results to share, and the methods to disseminate distance learning information to administrators and principals to achieve long-term support. So yes, one of the reasons why we're looking more closely at data is so that we can communicate better with your administrators. But folks, what is the repeated word you see there? Yes, feel free to unmute or mouth it. Good. Okay, you guys can unmute. There's only about 12 of us here at Max, so feel free. So yeah, we're focused on thank yes. Love it. Good. So that was a big area that you called out. And then the other thing was we would like some clarity in distance learning between the paper version and the online version. Another way of saying that is, how do we help students transition, right? Again, the key words there are that understanding between paper and online distance learning. Also, how do we manage the class better in Schoology, and how to reach out about Schoology and the curriculum? So you can see that the key item there is related to Schoology. So we're going to have some time for you. If you're new or you need some refresher, we're going to have some time today for that. And then there, speaking of time, you can see the repeated words in the blue text, how to make it less time consuming if possible, or how do we deal with our hours? Most of you have about 10 hours, but some of you don't. Some of you may have a little bit more. So how do we maximize our hours? We'll talk about that and create a plan that maybe we can all agree to help each other with that process. Any comments or any additional things that you might want to share about what's really important for you to get out of today's training? Feel free to unmute.
This is Luis. I have a comment.
Yeah.
And this is in regards to, it appears that the system, in terms of once a student completes a unit, it doesn't matter what level, it's relegated. The data just remains at that site. I really think, and I don't know, I'm posing the question now, whether, let's just say, a teacher at West Valley can also tap into that information if the student goes from, for example, where I teach, Maxine Waters, to West Valley, and then the teacher at West Valley would immediately just find out that that student is at this level and in this unit. That's number one. So it seems like we're rather parochial in a sense that we're just at that site alone in terms of data, and it needs to be district wide. And the second point is, I need to know, and I've done it, but I forgot, is once the student completes the unit, how to do it online, create that folder, and then say check online instead of having a paper trail. And I think I believe our previous discussions have been that we will transition, and perhaps the 23-24 year would be an ideal academic year to do so.
Great. I've written both of those things down, Luis, and we will be addressing those. First of all, I will say to address them immediately, sharing across school to school, it sounds like you're wanting to look out for students so that you can have a soft pass of the student, so to speak, to the next teacher so that student can streamline into the distance learning. So right now, we don't have a system for that, but I think that's a great idea. And then the other one is we will talk about, you can use one of the breakout rooms for differentiated learning about how to record student completion online. We're going to have breakout rooms at the end for your own interests. Some of you are seasoned DLers, some of you are new. So I want to give you a chance to differentiate your learning by going into a breakout room that works for you. Any other comments?
I just want to piggyback on the first time regarding the district-wide, not only for teachers, but also students so that they could have it on their an account and say, you know what, now I'm in
Yeah,
PTW3 Unit 4. So it's not only for teachers, but also for students.
sure, sure. All right, noted. Thank you. So let's kind of get into it. Let's see what we're going to be doing today. So first of all, yes, welcome and community building. So glad you guys are here. I want this to be a safe, comfortable place for you, and we'll talk more about that if we need to do anything special to make that happen later. We are going to tell right now our objectives and our agenda. We're going to get some DASA support. We have a special guest coming in all the way from downtown Los Angeles. You'll be hearing from Julio Marquez Sanchez. He'll be right back in a little while. Thank you, Julio. We're going to be talking, once we look at data, how to review it for a discussion. What is DL success? What does it mean to be successful as a DL teacher for our students to be successful and us to be connected with them in that? We will be talking about a success action plan. What do we want to agree to do together that we can all learn from each other and see how we can improve our success? We'll be having some breakout rooms, like I said. So some of you are new and you need some basic bare bones. We have an distance learning FAQ. You can go into a room and just review the basics and link out to some important documents. Some of you have the questions, such as Luis, about digital record keeping. And some of you might want to know what's new and improved in the Schoology. There's some new stuff thanks to your help and Gunhei O at LATC. So that's what we're looking to do. And finally, you'll have a sign-in and feedback before we leave at 3. So objectives. I want you to look at these and using your finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, as I read them, think about which is the most important thing for you to walk away saying, I got this, I'm more comfortable, I can do something better that I needed to. Is it analyzing last year's data about enrollment persistence and completers? Is it determining trends and identifying appropriate benchmarks for our work? Is it using DASIS reports to stay up to date with my student data? Is it creating an action plan for improved distance learning implementation? Or is it focusing on a particular area in one of the breakout rooms? What is most important to you? I'm going to stop sharing. Whoops, actually, you need to see that. Sorry. That would not be helpful. Which one is most important for you? Just show me with your fingers, and I can also make sure that we have enough time for that. Is it seeing last year's data? Is it looking ahead? I see lots of 4s. I see some 5s. Right. Any last ones want to share? Maria, did you want to unmute and say something, or? I see your hand is up. You're just voting. Okay, I gotcha. All right, guys. So the reason I did that was because now you'll be a more active learner, I hope. So when anything comes that way, you will be able to go with it. And also I can focus where we're spending our time the most. So let's take some time to look at DACE enrollment and persistence goals. Let's think about where the big picture is, right? Does anybody know what last year's goals were for enrollment and persistence? What the improvement goal was? Feel free to just unmute and call it out. If you don't know, that's okay.
I think it was like 15%, wasn't it, Dave? Wasn't it like 15%?
For what?
For the
enrollment or persistence?
And then for the enrollment gains, and then persistence was like, oh gosh, like 65 or something like that.
Close. First of all, the 15% is this year. So you're not wrong about the 15, but that's this year. Do you know what last year's? Anybody know what last year's was? Hint, it was less than this year's. It's a nice round number. Comes right after 9. It was 10.
Really?
And yes, we did an increased enrollment of over 10%. ESL, you guys killed it. How about persistence? I think you were right, Kevin. You said it was in the 60s. We started at 63%. So with a 5% goal, we needed to be at what? Any mental math there? 63 plus 5 is?
68.
Bingo. So that was the district's goal, and we surpassed it. We were 69.8. So you guys, again, amazing work for students to keep coming after above 12 hours. So that was last year. So the big question though is, do you know this year's? What did you hear me say? Did anyone hear an enrollment goal?
15%.
Thank you. That's it. 15%. So gulp, it's going to be a lot more. And does anybody know what the persistence goal is? Is it changed? Is it new? Is it the same? Anybody know?
Say
Any-
73.
So yeah, it's going to be, it's 5%. So again, we're going to stay with 5%. So it would be 73%. Okay.
Can you explain what the persistence goal means? Does that mean 73% of the people enrolled?
Yes. 73% of the students who enroll or show up to class come at least 12 hours. The number 12 is from a Perkins CTE thing, but it's been used at the state and federal level. But we know that students really need to come more than that. That's basically a student turning in 1 unit of work for distance learning, right? Okay. Any questions about the goals? So this year it would be ideal if we were to be in line with the rest of the district to be at increasing 15% than last year. And I don't have that number in front of me. I think it's last year was 32,000 across the board. So we'll just have to figure that out. And that's really why we're here today, you guys. What is realistic? What is doable in terms of distance learning? Okay. That's the goal. Yeah, Holland.
I just have a question about persistence goals, and from our end, there's a lot of people, you go into a classroom and a lot of people sign up who never complete 1 unit.
Yeah.
From a data point of view, is it better to drop them after 2 weeks, or does it not matter? Is the percentage based on how many enrolled in the first place, or how many average are there for the whole time?
Well, we can talk about that. We're gonna be having you guys tell each other what you think, because I really would like this to be more teacher driven. But I will say that just the way, and Julio can confirm or deny this, my understanding the way that attendance works is once someone is enrolled, they're in there. We can drop them, but they're still part of our
Numbers.
percentage.
Yes.
So that's why it makes sense for the people, and you're not in charge of enrollment. I know that. But them to do a good intake so that the person actually shows up, right? So Luis, I'm sorry, I keep saying Luis. Julio can share more about that because he's going to be having a chunk of time in just a minute. Unless you want to say anything now, Julio.
Hey, Dave. Thank you. Hey, everyone. No, you have it correctly. Yes. So once a student is in your program, in your school, or your class, that student is counted towards your persistence ratio. So it is the total amount of students enrolled and scheduled.
Cool. Kevin, if
Okay,
it's okay, I'm going to ask you to hold. Oh, go ahead.
Holland's question was not answered. If the student is enrolled and does not come to class or for DL,
Yeah.
do we then drop the student after 2 weeks? Because if not so, then it will adversely affect the whole persistence ratio. Is that correct?
I'm a believer that if you have made contact with students, or if you have not and you've tried for a significant amount and there's no show, no response, no nothing, drop them. It just makes your life easier in terms of what you see on the paper. Okay, and I'm going to let you guys share more with each other about this, because this is a key thing for how do we see what's successful for us, right? Okay. By the way, Holland, also what is persistence? Again, I think I said this, it's the 12 hours or more. So it would be a 1 unit, a little bit more than 1 unit of work. All right. So where did we stand with distance learning last year? We're going to look at that. And can we expect to meet this year's goals? You know, what is realistic? Okay. So let's move on and do a little bit of data review protocol. Any of you guys familiar with the notice and wonder approach? It's not very complicated. You look at something and you notice things, and then you look at it longer and you wonder, you have some questions. So what we're going to do is look at a few pieces of discrete data before we see the whole shebang, and just see where we're at. What is happening? What do you notice? What do you wonder? So looking at the screen, let me go ahead and put some words up there. This is from last year. This is in June, at the end of the school year. This is where we were at with our enrollment. So each row represents a school, and they're not in alphabetical order. I'm going to let you kind of do some noticings about the order. So what do you notice? I'm going to give you just about 20 seconds to look at it, and then feel free to type in the chat what you notice. See if we can get at least 5 people to type into the chat. Okay, we got a taker. KJ. Thank you. Good start. So there's a broad range. What does the range go from? From what to what? Feel free to call it out.
3 to 1,189.
Excellent. So thank you, ME. Who is that? I don't know whose initials those are, but thank you. Yeah, Maria, maybe. Lowest to highest. Good. Any other
There's
notes?
also a big jump between the penultimate and the last one.
Nicely noticed. Yeah. What is the penultimate number?
322.
And the ultimate final?
1189.
So there's a jump from good to awesome, or at least high enrollment. We'll see if it's awesome in a moment. Any other things you noticed? Okay. Any wonderings? Anything, any questions you have as you look at the data?
Yes, I wonder how enrollment matches to completers or to the other data.
Yes.
So that's how many enrolled, but you know, if
Yep.
if 1189 enrolled, but only 20 met goals.
Beautiful. Okay, RC, which school got got the number 1189? Okay, I'm going to keep you in the dark. If someone wants to share about that, they can. But I kind of want you to feel safe first. And I know that we don't have a good culture of data mining and data analysis. I think.
Question, Mr. Coleman.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many teachers and hours? Like, is one school getting 5, another school 10? So maybe the 1,100 has more teachers, more hours, so they're expected more, something like that.
Right. And that's another reason why I didn't post schools, because every school has a different number of hours. One school might have only 5 hours of distance learning with one teacher. Another school might have 20 or 30. So let's just not muddy the waters, because it's not apples to apples. So we're not going to go there. Good comment, Daniel. And the question is, how many distant learning hours cite per week? Yeah. So it's all across the board. Most of you have about 10, but just kind of want to keep it real that we don't want to, it's not apples to apples. So we're not going to go there with that piece of the equation. Okay. So what is another wondering that you might have? I wonder something. There's a blank space at the bottom. What do you think? What do you think might go in that blank space?
Dave, I don't understand the question. What blank space you're talking about as an answer?
So I wonder what the grand total is. Would someone want to do some math for us? Can you pull out your phone calculator and give us a total? Yes, thank you, Cheryl. She's like, what the heck is the total enrollment? Okay, we're gonna look at that. If you don't have it right now, we'll come back to it. But I think that's an interesting thing to wonder about. And like you said, Holland, how does this connect to the other data? So thank you. Who just did that? Someone's quick on the Cheryl. Thank you. The number is 2594. 2000. What did I just say? 2594. You can see it in the chat, guys. 2,594. Okay, I want to move us along. So that any other final wonderings? Anything you wonder about? Hey, Grelia, you made it home. Okay, so maybe I wonder why there is such a jump in, why is there 1189, and the average I would guess for the others is somewhere about maybe 180 if you take all the other schools. I'm just curious, why is it almost 10 times more, and what does that have to do with anything? Is that important when we look at other information? And let's find out, guys. Let's
Well, I was just going to
Go
say, I wonder in terms of the universe, the student universe, small school versus large school.
Sure.
The other is in terms of the number of teachers.
Yes.
Perhaps you only have one teacher that's DL compared to the other side. The last school, they might have 3 or 4.
Yep. So these are all things that are different at every site. So that's why I'm not calling out the sites, because that wouldn't be fair. It's not apples to apples. So
I was just going to say, I think it may have a lot to do with the encouragement by administration and advisors of having existing ESL students in existing classes take distance learning and supplement, because I'm not finding that at my school. And I, on my own, I'm not an advisor. I can't be, rounding up students myself.
Yes. So a great wondering is, how would we get more enrollment? How can we get support to do this if it's important? And Robin has a comment. Robin.
Well, that's enrollment, but what about completers
Yeah.
of work? So
Yes.
enrollment just means they signed up.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good comment, Robin, because for the most part, we're not in charge of enrollment. Most classroom teachers are not doing, unless you're a really powerhouse or really, I'm going to use some French here, a really disappointing teacher. And there's getting word of mouth out there about your amazingness or your not amazingness. So you tell people, so students are telling each other to avoid, that's the only way we have power in enrollment, honestly. And one other way that we can talk about later, but you're right. Let's push us on to the next category. Okay, so you guys already answered this question. We have the total days enrollment. And was there another question? No. All right, let's look at this screen and talk about what you see here. Again, this is data from last year. At the end of the year, this is what we see. What do you notice and what do you wonder? Feel free to type into the chat and I'll mute myself. All right, we're seeing some notes come in. Okay, go ahead and use that silver bullet in the lower left corner of your chat. Scroll up and down to see what your friends are saying, and I will also call them out. So let's see what that says. What is commitment? Oh, that was a wondering. Yeah, Kevin said, what's commitment for a school for the VL program? Good. Moving on. The enrollment with 116 has more completers than the 1189 enrollment. Okay, good eye there. Did you see what that she said? So the enrollment, let me go ahead and get let me get an annotation device so I can help you point this out. I like to kind of help point out what people are saying. So the enrollment with 116, hang on. I gotta move your faces. Yeah.
Mr. Coleman, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For all the schools, do they have the same requirements for a completer? I mean, with the documents. So in other words, a person doesn't have complete documents, they don't get, is it equal across the schools to get a completer?
Yes, everyone has the same requirements. Students need to finish the unit, all the parts of it. They need to take the test with the 80% increase or correct, and they need to watch the video that they have given there.
Okay.
So, good. Good question. Murray says, how's one of the schools with the lowest enrollment getting such a high completion rate? And which school are you looking at, Murray? Go ahead and unmute and share with us. You want to call out that, or not the school, but the number on the left and the number on the right. So what specifically?
Was unmuted. I apologize.
Yep.
The 116 school has 78 completers.
Yeah.
There's something up there with like how they're managing their program, because that's so high.
Yeah.
Are they really limiting the number of people that there's something going on there.
Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about. Exactly.
Yeah.
What else did people say? Not everyone that enrolls completes the course. Okay, we can see some zeros, and we can see just the fact that there's not a one-to-one correspondence between the enrollment and completers, right? What else? Let's see what else you guys said. Feel free to unmute. I'm going to look in this chat. The completer ratio is low to the enrollment. Classification question, is completer a student who completes one level over the course? Oh, this is a really important thing. I meant to call that out. The word completer means they have completed an ESL distance learning level. They've gone up.
And is that over the course of a school year or a semester?
Anytime during the year. So I could be a powerhouse student if I complete PETW1. I'm one completer. If I do PETW2, I'm a two-time completer, and you get the idea, right?
Right, and that, right.
Yeah.
Mr. Coleman,
Yeah.
the one with the 78, are those students also registered in an in-person class? And they're also there, so therefore the teacher sees them and says, hey, did you get the unit? Come see me. Versus the other ones are just all distance learning. I don't know. That could be the case there with
That's
the
a
completers.
great wondering, and what difference does it make, goes along with that. So we in the final sign-in evaluation today, I would love for you guys to tell me if you're aware what percentage of your students do you think or do you guess are in another traditional ESL class. But yeah, the question is out there. What's happening with the management? How many, does it matter if the students are enrolled in another class or not? We have a couple more minutes and then I'm going to pass over to Julio. Let me go ahead and click on this screen and you can see that if I were looking at this data, I might want to get percentages of this because that will maybe help me see what is realistic.
There is no internet.
What's that?
I'm sorry about that.
Okay, so I mean, we're here today to see what is realistic for us, given the way we have our distance learning set up. And so it might be helpful to see what an average is. Okay.
But even if you were to find out what an average is, perhaps we need to have a uniformed policy as to who to admit into the distance learning program. Because I know someone already made the comment, if, for example, the third school, the 116 enrolled and has a completer of 78, it appears that there's some filtering going on compared to the last school, which is more than 1,100.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the 1,100 school does not look good compared to that of the 116. So there might be some filtering going on, not to encourage students to enroll in distance learning.
Okay, so we can talk about that. Yeah, I think that's a good wondering. And Rita.
Yeah, I just want to say that if as a teacher you encourage the students to do it faster, because usually they say, when do I need to bring this back? And I usually say take a week, 2 weeks, because that's I think we are supposed to do. But if you tell them, oh, do it in a few days and bring it back, I'll give you another one. If you rush them, then you're gonna have more units and more completers, hopefully.
Okay, so Rita's doing, and what you're doing also, Luis, is kind of, you are moving towards, well, what does this mean to us? And that's where we're going with this. And I love the way you guys are thinking. We're gonna hold off a little bit because we're gonna look at a little bit more data. I'm gonna show you another screen and then we're gonna come back to it because, well, there's some questions I put on this screen. First of all, how many total completers? If there's anyone out there who wants to sum those up and put that in the chat, that would be great. Because I think I would like to know that. How do we aim this year if we don't know what we did last year, right? And then another question might be, what is the highest completer percentage? Some of you have been calling out the completers of 78 in total compared to an enrollment of 116. I wonder what that is. And then maybe what is the lowest? Or what is the average completer rate? Okay, I think those are really important numbers if we're trying to figure out what we're doing and what's realistic and what's possible. So if people want to do that, if someone can come up with the completer total, anyone want to do that while we're listening to Julio? Someone can just add up all the completers and get a total for us. Raise your hand, please. Anyone? Bueller? All right, thank you, Kevin. Anyone want to be able to find out a completer percentage for once we get, Kevin, why don't you just do that too? Once you get the completer total, see if you can find out that completer percentage of total completers to total enrollment, would you? Okay. All right, so we are going to look at one more piece of data. I'll tell you what it is now. For me, it's not as important, but we're going to come back to it because right now it's Julio, but something that we want to look at is persistence. This is not as important, so if we don't have time for this, I'm okay with it. You can see that there are 3 columns: no shows, fewer than 12 hours, or probably not turning in a unit, or maybe just 1 unit actually. And then those who turn in more than 1 unit. Okay, so if we have time after, we're going to get into breakout rooms to discuss that. And we'll look at all the data together. But right now,
Okay,
I
Dave,
want to, yeah,
can I just ask a question regarding
make it fast.
if you
Go.
have one student who takes Put in English to Work 1,
yeah,
and also is enrolled in ESL 1A, completes 1A, will that student also will the school get money for that student having completed Put in English to Work 1?
So we get money right now from CASAS tests and from WIOA EL Civics completion. There for ESL. There is some additional money, but it's really not about ADA or seats and butts and seats. It's really, I mean, we want to show leadership, and we want to show our principals and like I said, the higher leadership, how we're doing, so that if we need more support, we can get it. Okay. So, and it's because we're part of the bigger district, we want to kind of see what's realistic for DL related to the goals that the rest of the district has. So we will continue this conversation, but one of the reasons I asked Julio to join us is because Julio is our DASIS tech support here at Central Office School Support, and he's super knowledgeable and a really good speaker about some of these important things. And the other reason is because without good data in DASIS, this is all for naught, right? If the data is not good, we can't really, it's not realistic, it's not helpful. And Julio has some things to share with us to help our input in DASIS be better. So I'm going to stop talking, and Julio, if you have slide deck to share, go ahead, go for it.
Thank you, Dave. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julio Marquez Sanchez, and for those of you who don't know me, I am the DASIS subject matter expert for the Division of Adult Ed. So the way that I can support you, support your students, and support your schools is pretty much anything related to DASIS. So we do a lot of the training. We interface with the vendor for DASIS, make sure that the application is working as expected. We implement improvements to make sure that we can serve our students and you as teachers as best as we can. And I'm here today kind of just to share a little bit about some of the tricks, I will say, some of the ways that you can use DASIS to make sure that you are recording your attendance complete, faithfully, some ways that you can actually look at your data. I'll show you one report where you can use it to kind of just get your own count of completers. You can also do your persisters, and you can also see your no-shows. So kind of just put it together so you can have more ownership of your own data. So it's not just whatever you can get in reports. You can actually kind of corroborate that is that. And if there's any information that you feel like, okay, is the attendance doesn't look right, you can actually take a deep dive into your own attendance that you've reported, and you can correct any issues that might have come up in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen. Just I can show you with an example of how it is that you can do all this in DASIS. Some of you may already do this, but some of you might want to give a little more details as to how you can actually look at your data from this point of view. So we're going to start to take a look. So one of the things I want to mention is, as you know, DASIS was updated recently, and now for teachers, all your menus were switched from, if you didn't have them on the side, they usually were horizontally across the top of the screen. Now you can see a navigation bar right here on the left. Everything's still there. It's just slightly different location. Now you can see that you only have icons. It gives you a little bit more screen real estate. That's something that is good, because that way you can have more information displayed, but you can always find everything here. So I'm going to start with something that I want to show you. First, we're going to take a look at the attendance window, take attendance. So as you know, whenever you want to report your attendance, you're going to go to take attendance. So it's right here from the menu. Once you go to take attendance, you know that you can navigate to your different classes, different sections. I'm here using an example. This teacher is not particular distance learning. It's just an example. It's all data, so it's not faithful data, but it's just going to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go to one of the days when there's attendance or the ability to post attendance. Like I said, this is not live data, so take it with a grain of salt. But it gives you an idea what I'm going to be talking about. Now, there's a couple of things that you want to make sure that you have in all of your distance learning, ESL distance learning sections is the way that now we're setting up your sections, they should be, and if they're not set up this way, you can check with your coordinator and they can make adjustments for you. Every distance learning, ESL distance learning section should be set up as a Monday through Friday class with 10 hours of attendance per day. Now you may say, wait a minute, I don't teach on Friday or I don't teach on Monday. And that's okay. The reason why we set up the attendance that way is because we want to give you the ability to post up to 50 hours of attendance per week per student. We are not limiting attendance to the day that you are actually, on campus doing your class, because as you know, distance learning is a product-based class, right? So you're not giving attendance based on the hours the students come and sit down in front of you. You're actually give attendance based on the work that your students turn in, right? Mm-hmm. So, what you do is based on units, if I understand correctly, but you have to sort of translate them into hours and days, because days don't speak those type of units. We just look at the point of view from how many attendance hours per day are reported per student. So that's one of the things. So if when you go to your distance learning section and you go to take attendance any day and you don't see 10 boxes, then you need to check with your coordinator, because we need to make sure that you have, first of all, the ability to post those hours, right? And then, so that's the first thing. You just want to make sure that you know, and again, contact your coordinator if this is only for distance learning. And in regular ESL classes, it's different because those classes are actually seat-based. So you only report attendance for the amount of hours the students are in class with you. But for distance learning, you're reporting attendance based on the work they turned in. So it doesn't matter. The students can come in for 5 minutes and give you 5 units of work, right? So you want to put in all of those in days, so you can do it throughout the week. Now, the other thing that I want to just kind of let you know about the attendance is if there's a day in the calendar that is non-attendance day, could be a holiday, an assigned day, spring break, winter break. Those days are non-attendance across the board, so you won't be able to report attendance. So when something like that comes up, you might have to adjust how you report your attendance, because there may be, for example, we have, I think, an unassigned day coming up. I think is towards the end of the month. It's a Monday, I believe. So that means that Monday you won't be able to report attendance. So you might have to adjust if your students are turning in a lot of work for that week. You might have to kind of just shift some of that for the following week. So there's some things to consider. The other one is, as a distance learning teacher, you have what we call your attendance. The number of days that your attendance is open for you to actually post attendance is bigger than a regular class. On a normal class, you only have 2 days to post your attendance. That means that today you can only post attendance for today and for the previous day. And that's the only way. After that, for 3 days from now, for example, for Wednesday, you wouldn't be able to go back and post attendance. For distance learning, you have more flexibility. You have 10 days. So that means that you can wait to get the work from the students for up to 10 days and still go back to post it. Now, one thing that is, it can be a little confusing, but my advice will be maybe managing on a weekly by week basis, right? Whatever you have on hand on Friday, that could be what you can report for the whole week and move on. Otherwise, it can get a little hectic. But again, at the end of the day, you know your students, you know their patterns, but you want to always stay posting attendance within your window. You don't want to have a lot of work that you haven't posted and then the window gets closed, right? So that's the reason that you kind of want to manage it in that way. To me, it makes a little more sense if you do it on a weekly basis. That way you get whatever you have on hand on Friday or the last day of the week that you actually teach. That's what you can report. And you do have flexibility, if you have a lot of work and there's still some window in the previous week, you could potentially spill it over there if you can still post attendance, or you can just do it in this week. But that's one of the things. Now, the other thing about posting attendance is it's important to consider that one of the things that Dave has stressed about is it's better to report complete attendance. So it means just give attendance once students complete the packet, so that you can give them the 10 hours. So how that could look like, you could do it all in 1 week, most likely, one day, instead of splitting it into a few days. So that's something that it can work for you, because you have 10 hours per day. So you're gonna have 10 boxes, to complete all that. Any questions before I move on about attendance taking and attendance window?
I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. I've always understood that they're only allowed to do a maximum of 1 unit, which would be 10 hours of attendance per week. So are you saying that they can do 5 books a week? Which would not be possible anyway. It's too much work.
So I'll just answer real quickly, Julio. You folks, students can do as much as they can do. If a student brings in 2 completed units and they've got that 80% correct and they watch the videos, all that good stuff, you can put 20 hours for them. If for some reason they're a hardcore powerhouse and they do 30, for all of your students, you can only do 50. So if you have 5 students, they each do 1 unit, you put those in, and then any extra stuff, you're going to have to put them in the following week. I believe that's correct, and I'm going to ask Julio to confirm that. Is that true, or am I wrong?
Hi, Dave. Well, it goes on a student by student basis. So you can do 50 hours per student per week. Yes.
So you're right, Sharon. It's not going to happen.
No,
is it possible? It could be, but at least you have the ability, right? So, if the student only turns in 1 unit that week, you pick 1 day of the week that you want to give the attendance, and you can do it 1 day. And then, how the pattern is going to look very differently than a regular class, but the student gets the 10 hours. We don't really measure the attendance on like how many days was the attendance known. We looked at the overall attendance. So if that student comes in 2 weeks back to back, and in both of those weeks turns in 1 unit, overall for the life of, so far the student has turned in 20 hours. So at 20 hours, is this student a persister? Yes or no? Can anyone tell me?
Yes.
There you go. So yes, that student will be a persister. Now it might look like, 4 days out of the 5, the student has 0 hours, but in 1 day, he has 10. That's perfectly acceptable. So again, we want to give you the flexibility, but it doesn't mean that you have to have 50 hours for every student. That really is not possible. And, that's, if you get 1 unit, I think that's considered, very successful. You get 1 unit per week. Great.
Julio, this is Miss Vegas. I have a question. You say 15 hours, 15, right?
50. 50.
Okay, 50. Okay, they can get 50 per week. In specific cases, actually, right?
That's the system allows you to do that. Will the student come and give you 5 units in a week? That's different. So like I said, the way that it's supposed to be is every day you go to take attendance for your distance learning class, you're going to have 10 of these little boxes right here. This class only has 6, but you will have 10 boxes every day. So you can fill them out. But again, and we want to make sure that you do it complete. So if you have only 1 unit to complete, meaning 10 hours, go to 1 day of the week. It doesn't matter. You could do it on the day the student actually came in. You can do it another day and just check all 10 boxes on that day. Now, if the student didn't turn anything else, the other days are going to be 0, and that's okay. But you have the ability to do, if the student comes in with 2 units, 2 days, do 10 boxes in 2 days, and then move on. Now, the other, let's say the student comes in and they haven't completed, right? They did maybe 3/4 of the book, or they got less than 80%. What you might want to do is helping correct the work, or give them the supplemental assistance that they need. So next week they complete it. It's okay. You're gonna leave a 0 for the week. But once they complete and they're ready, they completed everything, then you grant them the 10 hours because you don't want to divide it, right? We want to make sure that the 10 hours are giving on bulk, meaning on 1 day only. You don't want to do 5 here and 5 there. It's better to do it that way. Go ahead, Dave. You want to say something?
So Julio, if I'm a teacher and I'm wanting to mark attendance, a student came in and he saw me for an hour or less. Do I mark 1? Why do I take attendance? Is it for them when they come in, or is it for work completed? And can I have, like, if they come in for 1 hour, do I just put 1?
Thank you. That's a very good question. So it goes back to the nature of the program. The program is distance learning independent study. So in this case, no, you're not going to give credit for 1 hour, 2 hours because they came and see you, right? If they completed the unit, the student can get the 10 hours. You can give it to them as attendance the day they showed up. That's great. But you can also do it within that week. My recommendation will be within that week, any day of the week. Now, if they only turn in half of the work and they're not quite ready, you wouldn't give them attendance until they're done. So that's a recommendation, because you don't want to do just 2 hours here and there. You want to do the 10 hours once they completed the unit. So that makes it more accurate and easier to manage. So remember, we're not giving them attendance for showing up. We're giving them attendance for work completed, all units completed.
So the attendance is in tens, right? 10, 20, 30, 40. I would never have a 17 or a 5, right?
It is possible, because the system has the boxes. So it is up to you how many you check. But our recommendation is to do it in blocks of 10. That's why you can do it that one. Like, it is possible that if you did it, if maybe a student you were doing checking the boxes and you did only 3 or 4, that student will only show 3 hours in a day. But again, for distance learning, the recommendation is to do it only when they complete a unit, and you can do all 10 hours in one day for that student or more. Hopefully it's 2 units. You never know. You have some overachieving students that are really doing really good for that. So that's a recommendation. Keep it on 10 blocks. Like I said, my advice will be on a weekly by weekly, so it keeps your attendance tighter, so you don't have to go back all 10 days. So at any given time, you're only looking at a week. You post attendance and you move on. You certify it for that week and you move on to the next week, even if you have some more leeway. Remember, as long as if you haven't passed the 10-day attendance taking window, if you are still able to post attendance, you can always make adjustments and re-certify it. So that means that even if you post attendance and you made a mistake, or maybe the student comes back 2 days later within the same week and says, "Teacher, I already completed the unit that you gave me." Oh, great. You can still go back and review and give the student credit for 10 more hours within that week if you wish to do so. And you can re-certify the attendance. So once you click certify, it is not set in stone yet. You can still do adjustments. So that's something that you can always do, again, in case the student returns with more work completed within the same week.
How do you do adjustments? I'm sorry.
So what is going to happen is, when you go in, let's say the student came in, let's pretend it's 10 hours, right? And then the student came in with 10 hours right here. So what you do is you're going to click certify. You're saying, "I'm done. My week, all my attendance for that week is posted. I'm going to go to certify. I'm going to say yes." And then if you want to say, like, you know what, a student comes in late right after you took attendance, but it's still within the same week, right? And you want to give him attendance on this particular day, what is it they're going to do? Well, you're going to simply go and give the student attendance like that. And then you're just going to have to click certify once again. So every time that you make an adjustment, if you have to make an adjustment, when you're done, you click and certify. Okay. And how can you tell if you made an adjustment and you haven't certified? This button is going to be grayed out if you're done. But if you make any changes, notice how the red becomes clickable again. That is to just let you know that you have to certify again. So adjustments are really easy. If you need to make adjustments for attendance days that are beyond the attendance window, then you need to let your DASIS coordinator know. They can make the adjustments for you, because you won't be able to do it. And then all you have to do, once they make the adjustments, you can still certify it. So that's something outside of the window once you're past the 10-day window. So if you're looking far back beyond 10 days in the past. Okay. So now what I want to kind of show you is how to use this screen how to leverage this screen a little more efficiently, because I know it can get a little bit unwieldy just looking at all these boxes and all these students. You have a big roster, you have a lot of students, and you're taking attendance, and you might have just a handful of students that are consistent. How you can manage this is you can use the filters here at the top very easily. You can use them to filter by name. You can just type a name. You can also use the ID number. You can do any ID number that you want, and it will do the filtering for you. So you can do that. So this is something that is helpful. But the other thing that is very neat is, once you post your attendance, you can see the total attendance posted on that week for that day. I'm sorry, for that student, right? So you can also see the section attendance. So this is how many hours a student attendance was reported for this student on this day, right here, 9:14. But these are the total hours for this student in your section, complete, right? So this is helpful for you because you can at a glance see what students haven't reported any hours. If you type in here, 00, let's try to do it. So if you do that, you'll see all the students that have no attendance for that day. Or you can see all the students that have never have any attendance in your class at all. So this screen is very helpful because you're already doing attendance, or you want to do a check-in. Like, let me see what students. Oh, you know, I forgot to post attendance for this student, or maybe I posted on the wrong one. Okay, so all these filters help you a lot. Also, you can do this right here. These little boxes that they can see any students that you have attendance for that hour, no attendance for that hour, or either attendance or no attendance. So that can help you filter out. You can see everything. Those are something that is very helpful. You probably already know, if you haven't certified attendance on a day, you're gonna see that alert right here on the side. So you can click on that and go to that day. So you can take a look at the attendance and then certify. So that is one of the tricks. And the other one is the history. This history tab right here. If you go to that one, it's going to show you all your students and all the days that you've until today. So you can go back and kind of just see all your attendance for the history of your class. So if you are curious to see X student, did this student has attendance on, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, or how they're doing on a daily basis, you can just filter here. So we're going to do, you can use a filter again, and then you can see all the attendance, right, all the way to the beginning of the class, which was in August 14. And you can see that, okay, this student, yeah, this student hasn't shown up at all, which it'll show up here too. But there's going to be some students that drop or not, so it depends on that. But this is also handy for you. And if you ever want to, you can always download this in Excel file. You know, you can do a lot of things, but this is something that kind of helps you stay on top of your attendance. As a ESL teacher, you're looking for blocks of 10, right? So maybe sometimes if a student didn't turn in 10 hours, you will want to know. So you can use this filter right here because you can see every day at a glance. So you can use this filter to say less or equal or less, and you can type in, this one doesn't have 10 hours, but I have 6. So if you do that, you're going to show they have less hours than 6 hours. Actually, this is equals. Let's see. It's less than 6 right here. So you can see all the students on this day had less than 6 hours. You can also do greater or equal to 6. So this will tell you how many students had at least 6 hours. But in your case, you're probably going to be doing 10. You want to make sure that you check for 10. So just little tricks for you to take a look at the attendance. Dave, yeah.
This is all really good, and I really want people to be able to now have some time to go into DASIS individually and play with the kinds of activities or work that Julio had just showed you. So I'm going to stop talking. Julio, I want to say thank you very much. Can you stick around a little bit longer in case people come back with questions? So I'm going to pause the recording, and I want to.
Can you
go ahead?
Sorry, Julio. Can you run reports that have hours of attendance last time? Can you run output it as a Excel file or a CSV file?
Yes. So I'll show you one report that will give you basically a bird's eye view of your class, which is going to include the total attendance hours for that student and the grade 2. So this report will allow you to see pretty much everything: how many completers you have so far, how many hours each student has, so you can make a determination of which students are persisters or not. So let me show you really quickly. So for that, you're going to go to the sidebar. You're going to scroll down all the way to reports. You're going to click on reports, and then you're going to look for the last menu. It's district reports. So once again, you come to the sidebar. You're going to go to reports. You're going to expand it. You're going to go to district reports. Once you go to district reports, you're going to click on all reports. And then you're gonna look for the last one, and the bottom is gonna say teacher roster. And then for this one, you do not need to. You need to know your. Let me make this a little smaller. You're gonna need to know your section number. Okay. So because you're gonna need to enter 7720, so you're gonna click on run. You do need to enter the section number. I think that's the one for this particular section, and you're gonna hit run. And then you're gonna see this report. So this report is gonna have a lot of information, and you can download it as Excel. This little Excel button right here allows you to save it as a .csv file, which you can also, it's an Excel file. But you're gonna see all the details, right? You're gonna see everything for your class. But starting on the ID, this is student individual data, right? So you're gonna see the name, date of birth. Let me scroll all the way here. You're gonna see if there's an adult or concurrent student, which most or all your students are gonna be adults, of course. You're gonna see the course if you have a forum. So this is helpful because you can see the course number, the schedule date for this student. When did the student start the class? Because this one is the when the class started. This is when the student started the class. If the drop date says 6/11, most likely that's just because student's still active. The default drop date for a student that hasn't been dropped is the end of the section. So normally when you drop a student, you put in the date that you dropped them. You know, you don't leave this to the end. That way the student stops showing up in your attendance window. You can also see the status, if the student is the SSO, is active or not. And you're gonna see also the grade, if any, right? None of the students have a grade posted, and they have no completion code. So remember, the completion code is leaver, schedule, or in progress. Or completer, leaver, or schedule. And then you see the attendance hours. So this is the other one. So you can see the total number of hours that this student has in your class so far. So you can do a sorting. There's another way to also look at your data. You can sort. If you just click on the column name, and you can click again, it'll sort, you know, lowest to highest, and then you click again, highest to lowest. So you can see the students that have the highest number of attendance hours. And just like before, you can use this filter right here, right? You can filter, use a filter by, you know, more, equals, anything that you want to do here. Yes.
Thank you. When I take attendance, I can see what level in it's one section with 6 levels for DL. But when I run a report, I can't see, is there any way that I can see what level they are when I run a report? I see it on attendance, but not when I run a report.
So, well, this one will show you, because it's a forum, it is going to show you just the course. So on DASIS, we don't have such thing as levels. We only have courses. So that's as much as DASIS gets you. So you can see what course they are, but the levels, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but the course is the level, right?
No, because it's my section.
But I think that's the course number, and this one it appears to be like 500, 150.
Yeah, so the course number will tell you that basically it doesn't have the title, but it does have the course number. So if you have a forum, you can filter by the course number, and you tell like level 1, which is, you know, the 50, whatever it is. You can use the course to filter, or you can even sort them. If you have a forum, you click on the course, it'll sort them by number, and you know you do have to do the match because this report doesn't show the title, but it gets you there.
Now, DL is all set up as forum classes, correct?
I'm assuming, but
yes, that's true.
Yes, it's true.
So in that case, this will help you.
So by the course number, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can download it and do more advanced data filtering if you want. This is something basic, but if you download it as Excel, you know, you can really, you know, group them and add additions. You know, if you want to add a column with the name of the course, you can do a lot more. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that when it comes to section number versus course number, there is a difference. We do have a forum, so the section number will remain the same, but the course number is different because it really depends on the level. For example, if you're starting with beginning low, being put in English to work 1, versus that of, let's just say, intermediate low, which is put in English to work 3. The section number will remain the same, but the course number is different. That's my understanding.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, that's true.
That's correct. Yeah.
So there's
That's
a
correct.
distinction between section number and course number.
Yes. Yeah. So section number is just for a section, but there can be a lot of courses. If it's a forum, there can be a lot of courses under that section, but also could be one-on-one, one section and one, depending on the setup. So a lot of ESL classes are set up one section or two. It's a forum. Distance learning, I think it is up to 6 courses under one section. Thank you.
Great questions, great answers. Any other? We're going about over 20 minutes past when I told Julio we'd be done. So last burning questions before we let him go. He's given above and beyond.
Terrible question, but there's no way to have a date indicator like the last date that that you gave them attendance.
Not on that report, but you can go to the attendance window and then on their history, you
Okay.
could see all the days and then you can do a visual inspection there.
Great idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Good luck and thank you for all you do.
Thank
Julio,
you.
if
Really
teachers have a
helpful.
question-
Thank you.
If teachers have a question and I don't know, if they ask me, can I just go ahead and ask you and on their behalf, and I'll get back to all of you guys?
Of course.
Cool. All right, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right. So how was that for you guys? Did you find that to be helpful? How are you feeling about DASIS and attendance reporting? Any general comments? On a scale of 1, 2, 3, we'll just say yes, I'm feeling more confident, or now I have more questions. More
Oh.
confident or more questions? Not that more questions is bad, but
That was really helpful.
good. Okay, because this is important. And we're talking about data, and you as teachers driving your work, you need to have good data, right? We need to have that. So it's different when we're putting student came for 1 hour or 2 hours versus 10, 20, 30. It's going to radically show a different kind of number. So thank you for that. Any last comments about that? You can share more in the feedback at the end of the time, but if there's a burning comment, please share it now. Okay, so I did not plan for that to be as a rip-roaring exciting of a moment for you to have an extra 20, 25 minutes on it. So we're going to chop our PD into 2 between now and next time. I'm going to move us along. And we're gonna kind of edit what we're gonna do today, because obviously we're not going to have enough time. So let me go to the correct screen here. And so this is important, though. I want to come back to this idea of this form here that most of you just downloaded. For us to be able to make decisions, we need to kind of see where we're at. And I'm hoping that if not now, maybe we'll start next time, given the fact that we don't have a lot of time. But maybe you can create information for yourself, and we can each do it as the weeks go by in these different categories. I put them in order in terms of what I thought would be most helpful. How many are enrolled and how many completers and percentage. The yellow and then the other items, it's less important. Maybe you don't have to type in what your action is, what you're going to do, but knowing what your data is the most important. And because this is really, I want this to be more teacher driven. If you don't like this form, you think there's a better one, please push it out to me, push it out to us, and we'll run with what you guys think is best. Okay.
You know what, Dave?
Yep.
I'm looking at this, and it's too bad Julio just left, because let's just do a hypothetical here. Let's just say it's October 19th. So then I want to get the data from September 16 all the way through and including October 19. How would I go in DASIS to get the number of completers?
So that should be in your gosh, he isn't
I
here.
mean, and I'm just,
I don't want to unfold that now, because once I start typing, people are going to fall asleep. But because I'm not as quick as Julio, but I think that's a critical question. So I thought it was going to show up in the data report he was promoting, and it doesn't. So I'm going to have to get that, because we can't. This is not. If we're going to use this chart, we need the right data.
Right,
Okay.
and then not to put you against the wall here, but I thought of this right now when I'm looking at the chart or at the tables.
Yep.
But I don't know how to manipulate DASIS in that way to just get the total number of completers for that period.
So let's make this a key task item for our next session, which, as you can see on here, and we'll see it later, is October 19th, okay? Thank you for that. This is critical. All right. Any other comments? I'm going to stop sharing before we connect what we've done so far. Yeah, Rita.
Yeah, since completers is so important, and somebody said you need a week, maybe we should encourage the student to work like 2-3 units a week. Would that be okay?
You know, you're taking us in the area that we want to go. We're looking at data, we're thinking about big picture goals. So how are we going to respond? And thank you, Rita. One of them is the language, the messaging we give to students. And it's not for me to decide, it's for you guys as a group to do. I'd like to kind of talk about how we do that, how we might make some decisions together. As I met with Francisco and Bob and some of the other distance learning folks here at School Support Team, we thought, how do we enable you guys to see the data more regularly, to make changes and do something as a team? Well, that's really more in the line of a professional learning community, a PLC, than a cooperative or a community of practice or traditional PD. And so what I wanted to do next with you guys is just kind of share what you shared with me about you know, a professional learning community, because I wanted to see where we stood and if that might be a better option for us. So some of the stuff that you said, and this is from these are your words, a PD or a COP is top down, led by one person. It's expert led. So that's usually what we do. There's someone up in front. It's usually not another teacher. Whereas a COP is what, or I'm sorry, a PLC is teacher driven, teacher led. So are we more PD mode or PLC mode today?
I think where it's a hybrid.
We are doing some things from a PLC, but I'm kind of running the show today. All right, am I not? Yeah. So this is pretty PD COP oriented, but if we're to move towards a PLC, it'd be more led by you guys, and then you guys conferring with each other about data and about activities. What else did you guys say? The difference again is that a PD or COP, okay, which word stands out here? When a group of people share a concern for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact on a regular basis. Okay, any keywords jump out? Just go ahead and be unmuted and share them.
Interact.
Okay.
That would be more of a PLC though, because they're interacting, they're collaborating, so it's more from the top, from the bottom up.
Let's look at the other one and see if that gives us any ideas. Any difference here? Is there much of a difference between these two definitions?
I agree with Luis, actually.
So the key things that stands out from this next one is that as a team of educators that benefit students. Okay, so the word students is really important. We know that PLCs are student-centered, just like we started today by imagining, envisioning, thinking about our students and what the data is and what they say. So last little thing that you guys said is in this next screen. Teacher sharing, learning methods, new skills, implementing classroom for the benefit of the students. That sounds kind of like a PLC, where we learn through continuing education independently. Well, let's compare it to this one. Again, student outcomes. Teachers want to, students receive, focusing on data, informing lesson plans. Okay, so a COP may or may not be data focused, and it may not be about the activities in our lessons. Again, you guys said it's collaborative learning, and that's really important. When we stop thinking about a PLC as a learning group, it gets weird. So we need to make sure that we're all about the learning, because we're going to make decisions that might not be great. Well, we're going to learn from them. Okay. And that word mistakes, I like that word in what one of you guys typed. So that's the idea. I want to see as we continue how we do this? Are we going to be a hardcore PLC, or are we just going to steal some things like being more data-based and being more teacher-led without necessarily being a PLC? I don't really care. I just want you guys to do something that feels helpful, okay? All right, so let me, I think I'm going to save this slide for our next time together. This just is something that I don't know if you've seen this in any of your back to school meetings or your principals or administrators talking about the plan, do, study, act model. It's basically a learning cycle to help us as we try and refine our craft so students can achieve more. We'll talk more about it later. I want to move us on. Okay, so before Julio talked to us, we looked at some key data. We looked at the green and the red on the outsides of this chart. We looked at the enrollment total, and we looked at completer total and completer percentage. What do you notice about the completer information? Any noticings or wonderings? Go ahead and unmute. Go ahead and share your face.
So again, I go back to, or I think we go back to pretty much collectively as a group, the 116 with the 67% completer rate. Conversely, you have 129, which is pretty close, with only a 3.9 percentage rate completer rate. So you got to wonder what's the 116 doing that the 129 is not doing, or maybe we share the best practices.
Kevin, I couldn't have said it any better. This is what a PLC does. A PLC looks at data, and a PLC, wow, I really notice this thing standing out at me significantly. So I wonder what we can do that we can all get closer to something like that. So,
I'm sorry, Dave. It's just when it comes to statistics, when you have an outlier such as that, the 67%, that's just an outlier, and
sure,
it's an anomaly, and to get the lessons from that school, sometimes it's not beneficial. In other words, because it's an outlier.
That's a great point. Murray.
But it could be beneficial, and you don't really know. It's like you want to see this, you want to hear the story behind that. And it's because it's fascinating. I mean, there could be something there. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's some genius that's, tracking it seriously. It could be.
Right. That's
so
good. Yeah.
I would love to know the story behind that.
So
obviously it shall be remain anonymous, right? The site will remain anonymous.
Well, in a real PLC, no. We've created a safe place. We have norms. I didn't do that with you today because I wanted to kind of go implicitly into the way a PLC works versus let's figure out our norms right now. No, maybe we don't need to be hardcore about norms right now. We need to look at data and we need to say, hey, what do we see? What do we wonder? What can we do about it? And so in a regular PLC, and I'll show a video next time, all the teachers are being led by a teacher. And when one teacher is an outlier and has some great results, a conversation happens. Why is that? What did you do? Is it something we all could do? If not, what could we do? So that's really the simple way it works. And I just want to show a few more slides with you, and then we'll move on. So when we have this story, as Murray said, of one person's process who is showing some great results, we'd want to say, well, what was that? Would this person share? And so we can do that. And then we say, well, is there something in that we can do, that we can create an action plan? And you can see the action plan has a few different pieces to it. We want to have a strategy. What's the general thing we're going to do? Is it we want to increase our completer rate by 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever. We want to improve our completer rate. Or maybe we want to have more, a higher persistence rate, whatever. So there's a general strategy. Then we have a research question. What would happen if we did X? Or will we have more completers if we do A, okay? And then what will we do specifically? And that's based on the conversation with among ourselves. What happened? How did that person get the results? Or what am I struggling with that's keeping me unable to support students in a way that they can complete? You know, everything's fair game. That's why PLCs can be messy, because everyone gets a voice and it takes time. Okay. So let me go back to the data. Let me go back to that screen. And we're not going to go full on right now. And we're actually not going to be able to do our breakout room activity. I knew we should have had 3 hours. I'm sorry, you guys. I changed to 2 because I thought, oh, 3 hours is too long, but it would have been perfect with 3 hours. But anyway, let's go back to that screen and we'll just have to clump what we were going to do in the next time together. So, or we can just start here next time, because I did not really prepare you as members of a safe place to share individually about your schools or your individual work if you're the only person working at this school. And that's what a PLC does. It's a judgment-free zone where we say, wow, what can we learn? What can we do better? So why don't we start there next time? Because I don't want to call anyone out today without any preparation. Okay. Is that cool, you guys? Does that make sense? Are you on? Does that seem appropriate?
Yeah, so that's appropriate.
And because we're going to need a nice chunk of time to unwrap that, to hear all of your voices, because I want everyone to have a voice. But because at the end of the day, you can see at the bottom of the screen, that's our question. Based on the data, what should be our focus to create an action plan that we all can agree upon? Because ultimately, in a PLC or a really tight teacher work group, we're going to agree to all implement it. Luis.
Yeah, I'm surprised in the sense that you're using 2 terms, safe spaces and free zones, because I've read several articles in the Chronicle for Higher Ed and also in the New York Times, and those terms are used usually in post-secondary educations, universities, colleges, and universities. I thought perhaps because, you know, we're so involved as professionals, it's implied, it's a given that we do have free zones and safe spaces. But I'm glad you're mentioning that. I mean, I think that's important. That's my point. I mean, I'm glad you're pointing that out.
Good. Well, we don't have culture of data-free individual ownership in our world right now, and we're moving that way. And that only happens when we have a safe place. So I'm glad you're noticing it. I'm glad that I'm hoping that's something we all want to move forward, because in a PLC, everybody's bringing their data and they're saying, well, how's it looking? What's going on? What are you doing? What are you doing? What should we all do? And agree to try and connect back with each other about in our next meeting. Okay, so I'm looking at our time and I'm looking at the things I have on my timeline and they're not aligning. We have about 10 more minutes. So what I want to do is just say, okay, that was a teaser, and we'll continue next time. But I do want to say that the things that some of you said it's really important for me, let me share the screen again, to do some of that stuff in number 5 on the screen. And what was that? Let me click through here. Sorry, guys. We'll talk more about the roles of a PLC later. But some of you wanted to get the basics of distance learning with the FAQ, frequently asked questions. And that was going to be an independent breakout room anyway. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send that out to you. And if you complete some questions about it and the digital record keeping on your own, then I can pay you for that, for asynchronous work done on your own time, okay? Because we didn't get it today, but then we can talk about it next time. Or I can just say, if it's not a crucial thing for you, we can just do that in October. How many people feel like knowing the basics and being stronger in your digital record keeping is something you want to do before October. Is that critical? Okay. So a lot of you said that. So I'm going to push this out, and I will, if you complete the learning around it, and if you have questions, you can always ask me in the group. You can do that, and you will get either DSTR or SSA. Okay. Because I think those are critical things for those of you who are new. Okay. So those were the first two breakout groups, and then I'll make those independently available. The other thing is also something you can do on your own asynchronously. The Schoology course has been amazingly revised, due a lot to your input about what's messed up. So I'm not going to tell you what those things are. I'm going to give you a group scavenger hunt, or you're going to do it individually at this point. You're going to, there's some questions, and I'm going to give you access to that new Schoology course. I'll put this all in the email to you to follow up. And you can do sign in for work completed, because this is learning that's not going to happen together synchronously. It'll be on your own if it's critical for you, okay? So those were going to be the 3 breakout rooms. I'm going to push that stuff out to you asynchronously. And again, I'll record your completion and compensation for that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Any other comments about that? All right. Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
I just asked something. It's just really quick and simple. You know, I did this last year. I have a number of my students wanting to continue from last year. Many of the students didn't finish their booklet, so they have, you know, 8 or 10, or I mean, 8, whatever. You know, so is it okay to enroll them in the same level as last year so that they can continue on to becoming a completer, even though in their ESL level they have advanced to the next level?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes.
Okay.
You know?
I have a corollary question, which is people who didn't complete, but they really want to start the next level to coincide with where they're studying. Do we allow someone who didn't complete 2, who's now in 3, to start at 3?
If they have passed a promotional test, they are in that new level. Sorry, can somebody mute Grelia?
People that aren't, I'm sorry to jump in. People who aren't talking, can you mute, please?
Yeah, I just muted. So thank you. So my quick response is yes, they have taken a promotional test that shows that they are now in the next level up. They do not need to complete the prior level. For you as a teacher, you may want to say, hey, you know what? You can bang this out. You're awesome. And then you can get the credit for it. If you don't want to, if you know you don't want to waste their time, don't go there though, right? All right. Any other Q&A general stuff before I give you guys a chance to give me some feedback? Any other Q&A about distance learning? So I'm going to give you information about an FAQ, frequently asked questions, that link you out to answers. There's some digital record keeping that you can learn about. I'm going to make some questions for that, or the Schoology scavenger hunt. So you can see the amazing new stuff that if you want to get access, let me just say this, to the new version of the Schoology, there's some bureaucratic stuff transitioning from an old to new, but short answer is ask your ITTA to give you that new course. Okay. And I'll, I don't want to tell you what's new about it, but I will tell you a couple things. It's easier for students to get answers. It's easier for you to correct. It's less gonna kill students' growth mindset when they see a lot of negative answers or wrong answers that are not wrong. That's the biggie, okay? All right, guys. Anything else? Just independent questions you may have? Go ahead, Holland.
Well, I'm not sure if it's just I'm opening up too much. Just one quick question. Now that Burlington English has added module tests, is there any chance that we might streamline that? So
those
that
tests were created for us. Actually, those are the tests that were created for us.
Oh, is they're doing on?
Yes, those
So
are
can
created
we
for us,
keep
and now
this?
they're promoting them across the world.
So can we keep them on Burlington without the Schoology component then?
That's a good question. I think there was a reason why we said no, but I will look into that. That's a very interesting thought.
And one more question, just as a general thing. How do we promote the school? The complaint that I hear from other teachers who don't want to promote the Schoology distance learning is that the students aren't doing any writing.
So you're going to see something that's going to be in the scavenger hunt, but you are raising a really good question and there's a good answer and there's an improvement.
Great, I can't wait.
there's an improvement. Yes, basically I'll tell you there's more writing.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I saw some people put their screens on. Is that to say something? Okay. Yes, you saw me looking at you, Delia. All right. So guys, I want to let you get out of here, but I also really want to get your feedback. So and also you, if you want to get paid, you got to do the sign-in sheet. So let me just quickly share screen and jump to that. All right, this is going to take a little time. This is the link. Let me put it into the chat. I really wanted to get a lot of feedback from you guys, so don't hate me. Just please thoughtfully and candidly and carefully put your thoughts. Where's the chat? Because the more, here, let me just type this in, link to sign-in feedback. All right, the more data you give me, the better our trainings will be. So let me know, nod your head up and down if you can see the Google form.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm going to sit around here. You can feel free to just turn everything off, say goodbye, leave the room, and finish the sign-in on your own, or you can just stay here till you're done. I'm going to sit around if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know we did not get nearly as far as I said we would because I'm silly, but thank you so much for coming. Go ahead, question?
Yeah, Dave, I thought it's going to be October the 20th because it's going to be Thursday or Friday.
It is Thursday because there is an advisor summit on Friday that was pre-scheduled. I know, don't hate me. That one I really have to be at. I totally ditched out of another whole summit today, counseling summit, to be with you. And Bob is at that. I kicked him over there so I could be with you guys. So I'm sorry, it is a Thursday, but we are recording these and I really would love for you to be here because the thing about a PLC is that to be teacher driven, the teachers have to be in the driver's seat. So if you're not able to be here, I get it, but I would encourage you to see if you can find a way.